episode with stories and histories. Today I'm going to tell you about my personal story about my guitars and how I got to get into sounds of guitars and finally make pickups. I started playing when I was 13. I had some acoustic guitars way back then, and I listened to Jimi Hendrix all the time, and I started to paint my guitar so that it looked like Strats, even a scarped fender in the top of my acoustic guitar. And a few years later, I got my first really good guitar, and that was an Ibanez Lawsuit Les Paul, and I still have it. It's over here. On this guitar I practiced many years. I guess I bought this one in '76, and it was black. I have a photo, maybe we can put that inside the video. It was a black standard Les Paul with this old round Ibanez logo, and they still have the open book headstock. In fact, it has a maple neck, but a nice mahogany body. And finally, when I stripped it, I saw this is a quite nice and beautiful top. So this has original frets, so they're pretty worn out. And I always thought about putting in some new ones, but I never did that. Really good guitar. I bought a '65 ABR bridge for that many years ago because I didn't like the round original Ibanez bridge. So I put on this bridge, and so this guitar immediately sounded more like a Gibson since I put on that bridge. I guess here is some HB58 from my production inside of here. I always test and try pickups inside of this guitar. It's always open for a quick change. Really good guitar. Later when we stuck deeper into sounds of Les Paul with my friend Peter Weihe, I brought this guitar and we compared that to originals, and it was quite close. It's very similar to many 57 Les Pauls. It has this chimey, brilliant. Excuse me, I gotta get a pick. It's bright and ringing. And so it's nice to check out pickups with this guitar and compare to originals. I played this Les Paul many years, and I learned jazz. I was a big fan of Pat Metheny and played stuff like it's many years ago, and I love that stuff. And because I was more into jazz at the time, I again began to look in direction of semi-acoustic guitars. I was a big fan of Larry Carlton way back then, and then I bought my first ES335. It was a '72, I remember that. And I had a few ESs over the years. I had a '72, I had a '68, I had a '66, or was it a 60? It's a '66 Pelham Blue ES. I shouldn't have sold that one. And then I had a '63 Mickey Mouse ear, cherry red. But I never liked that guitar. It was just good looking. I sold it a couple of years ago when I got that ES that I own now. It's a 345, very nice guitar. But we come to that later, because after having played the ES for a few years, friends of mine said, "What about using a Strat?" And I said, "Strat? Oh, I don't like Strats because they are built a few parts and it's not glued, it's screwed. It's not even a real guitar. It's just some kind of thrown together parts, and it's not a musical instrument." That's what I was thinking at that time. And a Gibson is a real guitar. All these things are built like a classical guitar. So I was approaching that theme in that way in these days. But these guys kept on pushing. "Come on, try a Strat." So I borrowed a Strat from a friend and said, "Okay, maybe yes." And I looked around and there was a cheap 76 Strat, and I bought that one. And I began to feel for the Strat. The first thing that I saw that if you hang it on the body, the Strat, if you play the ES, I take it this time. You play the ES, you always here, and you play in there. So I got the Strat, and it's all in the center. Woof, from here to there. This is the first thing that I saw and felt. So I played my 76 Strat, first with blocked tremolo, and then I said, "Okay, I have to go all the way," and I loosened the tremolo. I learned that. And I even put down my wrist on the bridge all the time, and with a free-floating bridge you can't do that. So I developed my right hand so that I don't touch the surface of the guitar to play free floating. So this was a benefit from having a Strat, to have a better plectrum technique. And then all the other guys who pushed me to the Strat started talking about, "Yeah, but the real Strats have small headstocks over here, not these big ones. And the real guitarists who want to become professional have to have a pre-CVS Strat." That's what they were talking about. And one day when I was looking for a new flat to live in, and there was a guy who was moving out. He had this Strat, and I asked him if I take that flat, if he could give me the guitar as well, and I would trade it to my 76 and give in 1,000 D-marks on top, and he agreed, because he didn't care about this guitar, because it was completely stripped, had a Schecter plate on it, aluminum, ugly, other tuners, the bridge riders were missing, and so we swapped the guitars, and I got this one, and I was very happy to become a real guitarist because I had a. It's not even a real pre-CVS Strat, because it's a transition Strat, but it has all these features that make an old Strat sound terrific, and this guitar is really, really nice. And at first it was bare wood when I bought it. Another friend of mine, he knew a carpenter, he painted it red for me with polyester. And so I played the red polyester Strat for many, many years. And then I learned more and more about Strats and pickups and all these things, and finally knew that this polyester coat had to go away. And these days I already developed finishing with cellulose, nitrocellulose lacquer, and painted this sunburst myself. So this is on it. I can't remember, since the beginning of the 90s, I guess. It was unaged, so all this wear is original wear from gigs. I guess I did 2,000 gigs with this guitar over the years. First with a country band. We used to tour for Marlboro cigarettes. There are other cigarettes, like, I don't know. But it was Marlboro who were into the country music and let us play along the coast. It was a nice time. And at that time, with the country band, I bought this. It was a little earlier. I bought this Esquire. I still was a bit into jazz and had an ES 175, this big things, and I was listening to Joe Pass and worked through the red Joe Pass guitar method, and I still had ESs, and it was nicer to practice with the ES. So sometime a customer came to me and said if I knew some guy who was selling a 175, and I told him, yeah, I got one. Yeah, but he wanted to trade an Esquire, and I thought, what is an Esquire? Yeah, it's a good guitar. I'm showing you, and you can decide. And he brought this guitar, and we traded guitars, and he even gave me some money on top. So I got this 61 slapboard Esquire guitar that I started using in the country band then, together with my Strat. I had a big case where I had both guitars together in that case in this way. And that was a very nice time. On original Esquires, there's this circuit that switches off the tone knob and makes a muffly sound in front, but I hide it, a Telecaster neck pickup underneath the guard, so that it's invisible. So these are the sounds. This bridge pickup to make my TL60 set. So I copied this one for the bridge pickup and had a few other neck pickups for repairs in the early days already, so I could bring out my own TL60 set. So this is derived from this guitar. So we had played country music on the coast every summer, and later they asked me to join a top 40 cover band, and for the cover band I didn't use this one anymore, so but I still have it and love it. But I played this one in the cover band many times, and in these days I got to know Thomas Blug, and he was using a dummy coil in his guitar, and I started to copy that and put a dummy coil in here. I'm gonna show that with the Marshall. It's not completely gone, but it's less. And then a few years later, a guy that I knew from Hamburg, he always dealt with old guitars. He came to me and said, "Do you want to buy a 62 Strat?" And I said, "Nah, sure, I want to buy a 62 Strat, but I guess that might be too expensive." He said, "Yeah, no, it's not too expensive because it comes in parts." And he had a plastic bag with a neck looking out and a white body built to look like a Burns guitar. It was this guitar. And he gave me a really good price for that. And I started to restore the guitar. There was a big hole in here. I put a piece of wood, old elder wood inside of here. Rebuilt this guitar. I bought a pickguard for $800 these days. Quite a lot of money. But the pickups are original, the bridge is original, the neck is original. It had to have a refret because the frets at the time were original as well. But the neck was bowing back very hard, so it was unplayable. So I put it in a clamp over maybe a year or so and put it on top of my cupboard and worked on that body in slow steps so that the body could get accustomed to every new step, the new wood. And then later I found the old original foam green finish underneath there. There was a big foam green plate underneath the neck plate and a big piece of foam green inside the cavity. So I carefully took out these plates of original paint and started to mix the original color. And the first liter was wasted and I had to start again. But the second approach was good. So I refinished this guitar in the same color that it was before, and then had a beautiful guitar. After having finished this one, I started to refinish the other Strat in Sunburst. So this was red first, and when I got this one so far and assembled, I began reworking my 65 and make it Sunburst again. So everyone likes to hear this one, I guess. Accustomed to my Strat, and when I heard this sound I was blown away. I thought it can't be true. I want that the other Strat sound the same, and I started to research in Strat pickups, and I tried to find the reason why this Strat sounds so different, because the 65 pickups sounded so mellow. later I understood that this was a good sound as well. So I started to make my own pickups and started with the ST 60. No, that's not true. I really started to produce real 62 pickups because that's what I was aiming for. I wanted that this Strat would sound mostly the same like the other one. So I made pickups and put it in this Strat and played them live. And later I changed the product from real 62 to ST60 because some dealers wanted a little bit brighter sounds. But then I came back making the real 62 again. Nice. Same thing on the Strat. 62. Huge, way bigger. So I started making Strat pickups, and I didn't make nothing else than Strat pickups for 3-4 years. Then I started making this Telecaster thing, TL60, like I told you. And then one of the dealers asked me, "What about humbuckers? Did you ever make a humbucker?" "No, I don't know." So I started to creep into there with the humbuckers, and quickly found out there's humbuckers is much more difficult because there are no more critical parts in that. If you want to make a humbucker, you have to have your own parts. So I started working together with companies in my region to make my own parts, and developed my first humbucker in 2004. And it was just the right time when Peter Weyer, a friend of mine who owned a 58 Les Paul, called in for a big Les Paul symposium. That's what he called it, because he and some people around wanted to find out why Les Pauls sound like they sound. Old Les Pauls, all these very, very expensive type. So we started researching in Les Paul pickups after that. And we compared many Les Pauls there, and I learned over the years what differences are between PAFs, starting at 57 and going over until 62. I got a few examples here if you'd like to hear that. I have a CC24. I don't have it too long, but it's such a nice guitar. I saw it hanging on the wall, and I immediately knew, please don't touch it. If you touch it, you'll stick to it. But one day I touched it, and I stuck to it. So I put on original hardware on this guitar. It's just the tailpiece is from some kind of guitar with gold parts, so maybe an ES355. This is an original ABR non-wire bridge, so it's somewhere end of 50s, beginning of the 60s. So these parts are crucial for the starting point of the tone. So this is not an old guitar, it's a newer guitar, but it's a very good guitar. I compared it to many old guitars, originals, so I know where the differences are between the reissues and the original ones. But I bought some old PAFs from 59 and 60, so that I always have the original tone in the house and keep my tonal memory, so I could build my own stuff and get closer and closer to this. Deep fundamental mellowness, these big sub fat low mid, and this bright high fidelity on top. If you turn down the volume a bit, because of the 50s wiring, you can take away the mid-range a bit to get the sound a little bit clearer. Pick up. This is a 1960 PAF. It has a little more punchy power to it, and the neck pickup is a 59, is a little bit clearer. I don't have a 57 now here, but it's more bright, maybe sometimes a little bit Fenderish, or maybe again show you my Ibanez. It got a similar taste to it, like old 57s. 60s, not late in the 60s, the beginning of the 60s, they changed a bit to the parts and put in a different magnet, shorter magnet, and went back with the windings. And it's a much clearer sound, but it's very nice as well. This one is from 61. This thing is not working anymore. This 345 is wired like a 335 because this was gone already when I bought that guitar. Sound is much quicker. The development of tone is much quicker than on the 59s. It's direct and punchy. It's a similar tone like you hear on Wes Montgomery albums. It's nice in any style of music. It can be hard, right? Has more bite, more definition than these early PAFs. It's a quite nice tone. You get the deluxe reverb melting a bit, but it's quite nice. When I bought this guitar, other way around, when the guy came in the store, it was the same guy that sold me the parts of the 62 Strat. And I saw him again and said, "Oh, what will this be?" He opened the case, and I saw this kind of sunburst, and I fell in love immediately. And I had to get this one. And there was some kind of work to do on this guitar as well. It has a hole here, so we can change the pots more easily than on other. But the sound is amazing. And so finally I sold my red 63. And from the leftover money, I bought a 54 Telly. Uh, 54 Telly, maybe yes. Just show you a few tones on. play this too often, but I like to have an old Telecaster to compare it to my vintage Tele pickups that I'm making, to be aware of the tones. And what's very nice about this one is the neck pickup, because it has this old mellow tone that's coming from the brass cover that damps away the resonant frequency completely and making the frequency range completely flat. So this high fidelity. So if you want this neck tone, I copied these sounds and put them into my broadcaster neck pickup, the BCN 49. It sounds quite similar. It took some time to find that out, but I did that. Together with Ollie. And last but not least, we didn't talk about P90s. This is a beloved guitar as well, because this is a real 59 Les Paul, but it's not a Les Paul Sunburst. It's just as special. But to me it's special because it has many typical Gibson-like sounds to it, and you hear the relationship to the old humbuckers, the PAFs, and this often helped me with voicing humbuckers, and of course my P90s. What else to say about this? Maybe we should try a little Marshall on the Gibson guitars. Where did it go? had some fun and interest in my guitars and like this workshop. And see you sometime again with another interesting theme. Bye.